3 minutes remained until the deadline. In the underground command center, He Jin watched the main screen with Sun Mai and Colonel Jiho at his side. The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of computers. All satellites are in position, Sun Mai reported, checking her tablet. Every major city has its defenses ready. Admiral Cho stood at the center of the room. Time to give them our answer. He nodded to the communications officer. Send the message. The officer pressed a button. On screens all around the world, Earth's response appeared in large, simple letters. That's pretty cute. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then the largest alien ship lit up with angry red lights. A new message boomed through every communication channel. You dare Mokik, this is TEL Dominion. Your AROGANC, well, it'll be your end. He Jin looked at Sun Mai and smiled. They're not happy. Good, she said, fingers ready on her keyboard. Angry enemies make big mistakes. The alien ships started to move. Their massive forms turned towards Earth, weapon ports opening like angry eyes. Wait es your doom, primitives. The alien message continued. Admiral Cho checked his watch. They really like their dramatic speeches, don't they? Bright beams of energy shot from the alien ships, heading straight for major cities around the world. Everyone in the command center held their breath. The beams hit Earth's quantum interference shields and vanished like water hitting a hot pan. What? The alien message came again, this time with clear confusion. Impossible. Now, Sun Mai, He Jin said quietly. Sun Mai pressed a sequence of keys. The quantum satellites around Earth activated, sending out waves of energy that the stellar dominion couldn't even see. One by one, the massive alien ships went dark. Their lights flickered and died. Their weapons powered down. They started drifting in orbit like empty metal boxes. All 5 ships confirmed powerless, a technician reported. Only basic life support remains active. The command center erupted in cheers. Colonel Jiho clapped He Jin on the shoulder. Well done. But they still have their emergency communication systems. Listen. A new message came through. But this time the alien voice wasn't proud or angry. It was confused and scared. What? What did you do to our ships? How can your primitive technology? Admiral Cho took the microphone. His voice was calm but firm as he delivered Earth's message. This is Admiral Cho of Earth's United Defense Force. Your ships are now under our control. Your weapons are useless. Your engines are dead. You called us primitive, but you never bothered to learn what we could really do. He paused, then continued. We'll keep your life support running because we're not monsters. But right now, you have 2 choices. You can surrender and learn to be polite guests on our planet, or you can float in space until your food runs out. What's your answer? The alien response came quickly. You planned this. You knew you could stop us. Of course, Admiral Cho replied. That's why we said your threat was cute. Like a child showing off a toy sword to a real warrior. The command center fell silent, waiting. Finally, the alien voice returned, all its pride gone. We surrender. Please, help us land safely. He Jin looked at the dark alien ships on the screen. Should we help them down now? Admiral Cho smiled. Let them float for an hour first. A little time out never hurt anyone who needed to learn manners. Sun Mai laughed and started planning the landing procedures. Around the world, people celebrated in the streets. The mighty stellar dominion had learned an important lesson. Never judge a civilization by its first impression. Sometimes, the most powerful technology isn't the biggest or the loudest. It's the one your enemy never sees coming. Young Ho Kang was not a soldier. Until 3 days ago, he had been making delivery drones for an online shopping company. Now he stood in the command center, watching hundreds of his drones fly toward the disabled alien ships. The drones are in position, he reported to Admiral Cho. They're completely invisible to alien sensors. He-Jin walked over to Yum-Ho's screen. Using regular radio waves was brilliant. The aliens don't even know how to look for such old technology. The first wave of drones reached the massive alien ships. Each drone carried special magnetic clamps that could attach to the ship's hulls. On another screen, Sunmai watched the alien crew's reactions. "They're panicking," she said with a smile. "They can see the drones through their windows, but none of their sensors can detect them. They think they're being attacked by ghosts." Colonel Ja-Ho turned to Yum-Ho. "How many drones do we have up there?" 2,000, Yum-Ho replied. "And another 3,000 ready to launch. We converted every delivery drone in Asia to help with this operation." On the main screen, they watched as the drones attached themselves to the alien ships in perfect formation. Each drone carried a small but powerful device, designed by He-Jin and Sunmei. "Devices activated," Yum-Ho reported. "Starting Phase 2. The devices began to emit special signals that interfered with the aliens' backup systems. Any attempt to restart their ships would now be impossible. "Message from the Stellar Dominion," a communications officer announced. Admiral Cho nodded. "Let's hear it." "What are the ESE devices?" the alien voice demanded, but it wasn't as confident as before. "How can you control machines? We cannot EVE and DTECT. Yum-Ho took the microphone. "They're delivery drones," he said simply. "We use them to deliver packages. Now we're delivering a message. Don't underestimate Earth's technology." The alien response was confused. "Delivery, drones, but they're so small, so simple." "Size isn't everything," Yum-Ho replied. "Sometimes the smallest tool is the best one for the job." He-Jin added, "And while you were busy building bigger ships, we were building smarter ones." The drones continued their work, covering each alien ship in a network of devices. Yum-Ho's screen showed their progress, 75% complete and moving fast. "Sir," Yum-Ho called to Admiral Cho, "the drones have found something interesting. The alien ships have external maintenance ports. They're compatible with our devices." "Really?" Sunmei moved to his screen. "They use such a simple connection system. They probably never thought anyone would dare to connect to their ships." He-Jin said, "More proof of their arrogance." Yum-Ho typed quickly on his keyboard. "I'm connecting to their internal systems now. And there. We have complete access to their computers." The alien voice came back, now sounding scared. "You're in our systems. But how? Your technology is supposed to be primitive." Admiral Cho laughed. "Maybe it's time you updated your definition of primitive." Yum-Ho looked at his screen with pride. His simple delivery drones, the ones the aliens thought were too basic to matter, had just helped capture the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. "All ships are secure," he reported. "The drones will stay attached to maintain control." "Good work," Admiral Cho said. "Especially for someone who was delivering shopping packages 3 days ago." Yum-Ho smiled. "Well, these were some special deliveries. One fleet of alien ships, delivered and signed for." Around him, the command center staff laughed. Earth's primitive technology had won again. The mighty Stellar Dominion, defeated by shopping drones they couldn't even detect. Sometimes, Yum-Ho thought, the best technology isn't the newest or the biggest. It's the one that gets the job done. Dr. Sunmei Lee hadn't slept in 24 hours, but she didn't care. She stared at her computer screen, double-checking her calculations. Behind her, teams of scientists worked at their stations in the underground facility, all focused on their tasks. "He-Jin," she called out suddenly, making several people jump. "He-Jin, come here quickly." He-Jin hurried over from his workstation, coffee cup in hand. "What did you find?" Sunmei pointed to her screen. "Look at their power systems. See this pattern? It's not just their shields that are vulnerable. Their entire ship runs on the same basic quantum field." He-Jin's eyes widened as he studied the data. "You mean Yes, Sunma smiled. One switch and we can turn off their whole ship like a light bulb. Colonel Jae-ho Kim walked in just then, followed by Admiral Da-jung Cho of the Korean Space Force. They had been in meetings with military leaders from around the world. "Please tell me you have good news," Jae-ho said, looking tired. "The Americans are getting nervous, and the Chinese are talking about launching missiles." "Better than good news," Sunmai said, turning her screen so everyone could see. "We found their weakness. Their whole fleet has the same one." Admiral Cho leaned forward, his gray hair catching the light from the screens. "Explain it simply, Doctor." Sunmai stood up and walked to the main display. "Think of their ships like old TV sets. They only work on one channel. We've figured out how to change the channel. And when we do that," Jae-ho asked, "everything stops working." Hae-jin explained. "Their weapons, their engines, their life support, all of it runs on the same system. They never thought they needed a backup because no one ever challenged their technology before." The Admiral stroked his chin. "How do we know this will work?" Sunmai pressed a few keys, bringing up a new image. "We tested it on the small probe they sent down to scan Earth. It's sitting in our lab right now, completely dead. We changed its channel, and it just stopped." "Can they change it back?" Jae-ho asked. "They would need our technology to do it," Hae-jin said. "And they don't even know our type of quantum manipulation exists. They're too busy looking down on our primitive technology to notice what we can really do." Admiral Cho walked closer to the screen, studying the data. "How long would it take to build something that could affect their entire fleet?" "We already have it," Sunmai said proudly. "Remember the quantum communication network we built last year? With some adjustments, we can use those satellites to send our channel change signal to their whole fleet at once." The Admiral turned to Jae-ho. "How much time do we have left?" 32 hours. Jae-ho checked his watch. "Good," Sunmai said. "We only need 12 to make the changes to our satellites." Hae-jin walked to a side screen showing the alien fleet. "You know what's funny? They keep sending us messages about how primitive we are, but they never once asked what we can do. They just assumed." "Pride comes before a fall," Admiral Cho said softly. "And they're about to fall very hard." Just then, another alien message appeared on all screens. "Your time grows short, primitive. Prepare to issue BMIT-2, this DLR Dominion, or face EXTI Sichuan." Jae-ho laughed. "They really love their dramatic messages, don't they?" "Let them talk," Sunmai said, turning back to her computer. "In 32 hours, they'll learn that sometimes the most dangerous weapon is the one you don't see coming." Hae-jin nodded and picked up his phone. "I'll tell the other research teams to start their preparations. When their ships go dark, we need to be ready to show the Stellar Dominion exactly what Earth's primitive technology can do." As the team got back to work, Admiral Cho watched the alien fleet on the screen. 5 massive ships, each one a marvel of advanced technology, all about to be defeated by the very people they looked down upon. Sometimes, he thought, the best response to arrogance was a simple lesson in humility. Lieutenant Mira Choi stood at the edge of Seoul's defense line, watching the sky through her binoculars. Despite having their main ships disabled, the Stellar Dominion had launched hundreds of small fighter craft using backup power systems. "They're coming," she said into her radio. "Everyone get ready. Remember, they expect energy weapons. Let's show them something different." Behind her, tanks and artillery units waited quietly. Regular soldiers stood with simple rifles. The Dominion would think this was primitive, and that's exactly what Myray wanted them to think. The alien fighters came in fast, their engines glowing bright blue. They fired energy beams at the city, but Earth's quantum shields caught every shot. "Hold position," Myray ordered. "Let them get closer." The alien ships dropped lower, probably confused why Earth wasn't firing back with energy weapons. They didn't notice the simple metal barrels of the tanks turning to track them. "Now," Myray shouted. The sound was deafening. Tanks fired regular shells. Artillery launched simple explosive rounds. Soldiers used standard bullets. Nothing fancy, nothing high-tech, just basic weapons that had worked for decades. The aliens had no defense against it. Their energy shields were designed to stop plasma and laser fire, not solid metal. The first wave of fighters fell from the sky, taken down by technology they had thought too primitive to fear. "They're launching ground troops," someone called out. Mayray watched as alien landing craft touched down. Soldiers in glowing armor stepped out, carrying what looked like expensive energy rifles. "Let them come," Mayray said calmly. "Their fancy armor is useless against our primitive bullets." The alien commander's voice boomed across the battlefield. "Surrender now, primitive. Your simple weapons, KNOTAAR, US. Mayray picked up a regular sniper rifle. "Watch me," she said quietly, and pulled the trigger. The alien commander's expensive energy shield flickered as the simple metal bullet passed right through it. He fell backwards, his armor useless against such primitive weapons. "All units, open fire," Mayray ordered. The battlefield erupted with gunfire. Alien troops fell one after another, their advanced shields doing nothing to stop regular bullets. Their energy weapons were powerful but slow, perfect for fighting other advanced civilizations, useless against Earth's outdated military. "They're retreating," a soldier called out. "They're running back to their ships." Mayray watched through her binoculars as the alien troops ran. Their fancy armor, designed to stop energy weapons, just made them slower targets for Earth's bullets. Her radio crackled. It was Admiral Cho from the command center. "Report, Lieutenant." "Sir," Mayray replied. "The aliens just learned that sometimes old technology works best. They're retreating. I don't think they'll try a ground attack again." "Excellent work," the Admiral said. "Did they really think we wouldn't be able to fight back?" "They thought we'd try to match their technology," Mayray explained. "They expected energy weapons and fancy shields. They weren't ready for simple bullets and tanks." Over the radio, she heard Hijin laughing. "They spent so much time advancing their technology, they forgot to defend against the basics." Mayray looked at the battlefield. Alien ships lay broken, defeated by regular artillery. Alien soldiers ran from simple bullets their shields couldn't stop. The mighty stellar dominion, running away from the very weapons they had called primitive. "Should we chase them?" a tank commander asked. "No," Mayray said. "Let them run. Let them go back and tell their leaders what happened. Let them explain how Earth's primitive military defeated their advanced army." As the sun set over Seoul, Mayray smiled. The aliens had learned another lesson today. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. All their advanced technology, all their powerful weapons, meant nothing against simple solutions that had worked for centuries. "War never changes," she said quietly. "But sometimes being primitive is exactly what you need to win." Dr. Haejin Park was enjoying his morning coffee when his phone rang. He looked at the screen and frowned. The call came from a number he didn't recognize, but the prefix belonged to the military. "Dr. Park speaking," he said, placing his coffee mug down on his desk at the Seoul Quantum Research Center. "Doctor, this is General Kang. We need you at the underground facility immediately." The voice was firm, but carried an edge of urgency that made Hejin sit up straight. "A car is already on its way to pick you up." Before Hejin could ask any questions, the line went dead. He looked out his office window at the clear morning sky, wondering what could be so important. As the head of Earth's quantum physics research, he was used to urgent calls, but something felt different this time. 20 minutes later, the black SUV with tinted windows pulled up outside the research center. Two stern-faced soldiers stepped out and escorted him to the vehicle without a word. The drive to the military's underground facility took 30 minutes, during which Hejin noticed people on the streets stopping to look up at the sky, pointing and taking pictures with their phones. Deep underground, He-Jin found himself in a room he'd never seen before. Massive screens covered the walls, showing news feeds from around the world. Colonel Jae-ho Kim, a military strategist he'd worked with before, stood in the center of the room with several other officials. "Dr. Park, thank you for coming quickly," Jae-ho said, his face serious. "Look at this." He pointed to the main screen. He-Jin's mouth fell open. The image showed a massive ship, unlike anything humans had ever built, hanging in orbit above Earth. It was at least 3 kilometers long, with a dark metallic surface that seemed to swallow light. "It appeared 2 hours ago," Jae-ho explained. "And 10 minutes ago, they sent this message to every major radio station, TV channel, and digital platform on Earth." The screen changed to show text appearing in multiple languages. He-Jin read the English version. "People of Earth, we are EDSTELR Dominion. Your planet has resources we require. You will surrender these resources to us, or we will take them by force. UAV 72 HOURs to respond. Resistance is futile, as your technology is primitive, compared to ours. NDMESSAG." He-Jin looked around the room. Some officials appeared frightened, others angry. But something caught his attention on one of the smaller screens, readings from the quantum detection array he'd helped build last year. "Colonel," he said, moving closer to the screen, "can you get me more detailed data from the quantum sensors?" Jae-ho nodded to a technician, who pulled up the complete readings. He-Jin's eyes widened as he studied the numbers. He looked back at the alien ship, then at the data again, a small smile forming on his face. "Is something funny, Doctor?" Jae-ho asked, confused by He-Jin's expression. "Actually, yes," He-Jin replied, turning to face the room. "Their ship's energy signature, it's using a form of quantum field manipulation that we studied and moved past years ago. It's inefficient, limited, and..." He paused, his smile growing wider. "Very vulnerable to disruption from our newer quantum systems." "What exactly are you saying?" asked a senior official. "I'm saying," He-Jin replied, pulling up his own research data on a tablet, "that calling our technology primitive might be the biggest mistake they've ever made. They went all in on one path of technological development, while we explored many. And some of our primitive solutions," he gestured to the quantum readings, "they might just be exactly what we need." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Then Jae-ho started laughing. "So when they say our technology is primitive, they're looking at the wrong things," He-Jin finished. "They don't know what we're really capable of, and that's going to be their second biggest mistake." "What's their biggest mistake?" someone asked. He-Jin looked back at the ultimatum message still displayed on the main screen. "Giving us 72 hours to prepare our response. Show me everything we know about their technology," He-Jin said, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The underground facility had turned into a bustling command center in the past 6 hours since the alien ultimatum. Colonel Jae-ho Kim stood behind him, watching as dozens of data streams filled the screens. Teams around the world were sending in their analysis of the stellar Dominion ship. "Look at this," He-Jin pointed to a particular reading. "Their entire ship runs on quantum field manipulation, but it's basic. Like they found one way to do it and just stopped looking for others." "Basic?" Jae-ho raised an eyebrow. "Their ship is bigger than anything we've ever built." "Size isn't everything," He-Jin smiled. "Think of it like this. They built a massive house, but they only know how to use one type of tool. We built smaller houses, but we learned to use every tool possible." A young technician rushed into the room with a tablet. "Dr. Park, we found something interesting in their communication signals." He-Jin took the tablet and studied it. His eyes lit up. "Jae-ho, look at this. They don't use radio waves at all. Everything they do is quantum-based. And that's important because, Jai-Ho asked, because they won't be looking for radio signals. They'd probably think we only use them for primitive entertainment. He-Jin stood up and walked to the main screen. They don't know we've been using radio waves for everything from Wi-Fi to military communications. We could hit them with radio-controlled weapons, and they wouldn't even see them coming. The door opened again, and Dr. Sun-Mei Lee walked in. She was He-Jin's research partner and the head of quantum defense systems. Her usual neat appearance was slightly disheveled, suggesting she'd been working nonstop. "He-Jin, you need to see this," she said, connecting her laptop to the main display. "I've been analyzing their shield technology. It's impressive. But what?" Jai-Ho asked. "But it's like they're using Quantum Shields version 1.0, and we're already on version 5.0, she explained. They focused all their development on making them bigger and stronger, but never explored different types of quantum fields." He-Jin nodded excitedly, and our research went in completely different directions. We developed ways to bend quantum fields, create gaps, even reverse them. "In simple terms?" Jai-Ho asked. Sun-Mei smiled. "In simple terms, they built a bigger wall. We built doors, windows, and ways to walk through walls." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Then, Jai-Ho started laughing again. "So when they call us primitive, they're judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree," He-Jin finished. "They mastered space travel, yes, but they missed so many other paths of technological development. They never needed to be creative because their main technology worked well enough." Sun-Mei pulled up more data. "Look at their weapon systems, all energy-based, all using the same quantum principles. They probably haven't used physical projectile weapons in centuries. Which means," Jai-Ho's eyes widened, "which means they might not even have defenses against simple bullets," He-Jin said, "or missiles, or any of our primitive weapons." A message flashed on the main screen. More ships had appeared in orbit, bringing the Stellar Dominion's fleet to 5 massive vessels. "They're trying to scare us with numbers," Sun-Mei said, shaking her head. "They still think bigger means better." He-Jin looked at the clock. 58 hours remained until the deadline. "Colonel, we need to tell the world's leaders what we found. But more importantly," he paused, a slight smile on his face, "we need to start preparing our primitive response." Jai-Ho nodded and picked up his phone. "I'll arrange an emergency meeting. The world needs to know that we're not as helpless as they think." As the colonel left the room, He-Jin and Sun-Mei shared a knowing look. The Stellar Dominion had made a critical mistake in their arrogance. They assumed that their path of technological development was the only path worth taking. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. 1 month after the surrender of the Stellar Dominion, He-Jin stood at a window in the newly built Galactic Relations Center in Seoul. Below him, human and alien scientists walked together, sharing knowledge and stories. "Strange, isn't it?" Sun-Mei said, joining him at the window. "A month ago, they wanted to destroy us. Now they're here learning how to make better quantum shields." He-Jin nodded. "They're quick learners once they got past their pride. Yesterday, I saw their engineers getting excited about radio waves. Radio waves, technology they thought was useless." Colonel Jai-Ho walked in, carrying tablets with new reports. The Dominion's home world sent another message. 3 more alien civilizations want to open diplomatic relations with Earth. They're probably worried we'll call their threats cute too, Young-Ho joked from his desk, where he was teaching alien engineers how to build better drones. Lieutenant Mai-Ray, who had been promoted after the ground battle, entered the room. "The alien soldiers are impressed with our training programs. They can't believe we still practice fighting without energy weapons." One of them actually asked to learn how to use a bow and arrow. "Speaking of learning," Admiral Cho said, joining the group, "the Dominion's Supreme Commander has requested something interesting. He wants Earth to help update their military training. says they've been doing things the same way for too long. He-Jin smiled. Did anyone expect this a month ago? Earth becoming a teacher to one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. Well, Sun-Mai said, looking at her computer, we did something they didn't expect. We kept growing in all directions. While they focused on making their ships bigger and their weapons stronger, we kept exploring every possible path of progress. Young Ho pointed to his screen, showing the designs for a new type of ship. Humans and aliens were working together, combining Earth's creative approaches with Dominion technology. Look at this. They're already talking about building smaller, smarter ships instead of huge ones. And the best part, Mireille added, they're starting to understand why we keep our primitive technology. Sometimes the old ways work best. Admiral Cho checked his watch. Time for the daily meeting. The UN wants an update on our new role in galactic politics. As they walked to the meeting room, He-Jin thought about how much had changed. Earth wasn't just defending itself anymore. It was helping shape the future of galactic civilization. All because humans never stopped asking questions, never stopped trying new things, never decided that one path of progress was the only path. In the meeting room, screens showed news from around the world. Alien students were attending Earth universities, learning about human culture and technology. Human scientists were studying alien ships, finding ways to improve them with Earth's different approach to physics. You know what's funny? Sun-Mai said as they sat down. They came here thinking they would teach us our place in the galaxy. And instead, He-Jin asked. Instead, we taught them that every civilization has something to offer. That being younger doesn't mean being weaker. That sometimes the best way to advance is to remember where you came from. The meeting began, but He-Jin's mind wandered to the future. Earth was no longer alone in the galaxy, but it wasn't just another member of the galactic community. It was becoming a leader, not through force or fear, but through the very things the Dominion had mocked. Creativity, diversity of thought, and the wisdom to know that progress doesn't always mean abandoning the old ways. Outside the window, a small drone flew past, carrying a package to the alien quarter of the city. Above it, one of the Dominion ships, now powered by a combination of their technology and Earth's innovations, patrolled peacefully. The galaxy had changed, and Earth had changed with it. But some things stayed the same, like humanity's ability to surprise anyone who underestimated them, and their habit of responding to threats with 3 simple words. That's pretty cute. The main screen in the command center suddenly lit up with a new message. The Supreme Commander of the Stellar Dominion himself appeared, a tall figure with gray skin and angry eyes. You leave the U.S. no choice, his voice boomed. If we can not have Earth's resources, no one and while, we will destroy your sun. He-Jin looked at Sun-Mai and smiled. They really don't learn, do they? The Supreme Commander continued. We AAVACTIVATDOURTSTELRDSTRUCTR. In one HOR, yours TAR, will begin to guy. Surrender now or face EXTIN. Admiral Cho sipped his coffee calmly. Dr. Park, Dr. Lee, would you like to explain to our guests why that's not going to work? He-Jin took the microphone. Supreme Commander, did you really think we wouldn't study our own sun? That we wouldn't protect it? The alien leader's face showed confusion. What do you mean? Your primitive TECJnology, KNOTSTOPSTELRDESTWRUC2R. Sun-Mi joined in. Actually, we mapped the quantum signatures of every star in our solar system years ago. We knew someday someone might try something like this. She pressed a few buttons, bringing up a display of the sun's quantum field protection grid, a network of satellites and sensors that Earth had built in secret. You see, He-Jin explained, while you were busy building bigger weapons, we were protecting our home. Your stellar destructor uses the same quantum technology as your ships, and we already showed you how well that worked out. The Supreme Commander's gray face turned darker with anger. Impossible. No civilization. Your AG could have such pro-T-T-T-1. Want to test that theory? Sunmai asked. Go ahead. Try to destroy our sun. But I should warn you, the backfire will be impressive. The alien leader's eyes widened. Backfire? Oh yes, He Jin said cheerfully. Your weapon uses quantum fields to destabilize stars. But our protection grid doesn't just block those fields, it reflects them. Fire that weapon, and the quantum pulse will bounce right back to your fleet. Colonel Jiho added, and since your ships are already powerless, you have no shields to protect you. The command center fell silent as the Supreme Commander processed this information. His confident expression had turned to one of fear. You planned for this? He asked, his voice no longer booming. All of it? Not exactly, Sunmai admitted. We just like to be prepared. It's what primitive civilizations do to survive. Young Ho, who had been monitoring the alien fleet with his drones, spoke up. Sir, they're powering down the stellar destructor. Looks like they don't want to test our defenses after all. The Supreme Commander's image flickered on the screen. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet and defeated. How did a young civilization like yours advance so far without us noticing? He Jin stepped forward. Because you weren't looking. You saw our cities and thought we were primitive. You saw our weapons and thought we were weak. You never bothered to look deeper. And now? The alien leader asked. Admiral Cho took over. Now you have two choices. 1. We help you land safely, and you learn to be peaceful visitors to our world. 2. You try one more foolish attack, and we show you what else our primitive technology can do. The Supreme Commander was silent for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, he laughed. A short, bitter sound. We came to teach you your place in the galaxy, he said. Instead, you taught us ours. That's what happens, Sunmai said softly, when you judge a book by its cover. The alien leader nodded slowly. We surrender. Completely this time. No more tricks, no more threats. Will you show us what else you've created? Perhaps we are the ones who need to learn. He Jin looked at Admiral Cho, who nodded. Yes, He Jin said. But first, let's get your people safely on the ground. After all, that's what primitive civilizations do. We help those in need, even if they started as enemies. The United Nations building in New York was packed. The Security Council chamber had never been so full. He Jin, Sunmai, and Admiral Cho sat at the main table, surrounded by world leaders and their military advisors. You're telling us, the American president said, leaning forward in his chair, that we can shut down their entire fleet with the push of a button. Yes, Sunmai replied simply. She pointed to the screen showing their test results. We've already proven it works on their probe. The same technology will work on their ships. The Russian representative raised his hand. And what stops them from starting their ships again? They can't, He Jin explained. It would be like trying to start a car without knowing what a key is. They don't even understand how we did it. The Chinese premier spoke next. 20 hours remain until their deadline. What if this doesn't work? Admiral Cho stepped in. Then we still have our conventional weapons. Their shields don't stop physical objects. They haven't used regular weapons in so long, they forgot to defend against them. A murmur of amazement spread through the room. The British Prime Minister shook her head and smiled. They really did underestimate us, didn't they? Completely, Sunmai agreed. They think bigger is better. They never considered that we might have taken a different path. The Secretary General stood up. We need to decide on our official response. They expect us to beg for mercy. What do we tell them? Admiral Cho smiled. I have a suggestion. He walked to the main screen and typed 3 words. The room fell silent. then burst into laughter. "That's pretty cute." The French president read aloud. "You want us to tell the most powerful alien fleet we've ever seen that they're cute?" "Yes," Admiral Cho said firmly, "because that's exactly what they are. Like children showing off their toys, thinking they're the best because they're the biggest." He-Jin nodded. "They want to scare us. Instead, we show them we're not impressed. It will make them angry." "And angry people make mistakes," Sun Mai added. "They'll attack right away, expecting us to be helpless. That's when we shut down their ships." The Japanese Prime Minister raised an important point. "What about their crews? We're not going to kill them, are we?" "No," He-Jin assured everyone. "Their backup life support runs on a different system. They'll be uncomfortable, but alive." Enough time to realize they should have been more polite when asking to visit Earth. The room filled with quiet chuckles. The Secretary General called for a vote. One by one, the world's leaders agreed. Earth would not bow down. Earth would not beg. Earth would respond with 3 simple words that would drive the Stellar Dominion mad with rage. As the meeting ended, Sun Mi turned to He-Jin. "Do you think they'll ever understand what they did wrong?" "They will," he said, watching the world's leaders shake hands and smile. "Sometimes the best way to teach someone humility is to show them they're not as special as they think." Colonel Jae-ho Kim entered the room with new reports. "The satellites are ready. Our ground forces are in position. Every nation has agreed to follow the plan." Admiral Cho nodded with satisfaction. "Then we wait. Let them count down their precious hours, thinking we're scared. Let them prepare their big ships and powerful weapons." "And then?" the Secretary General asked. "And then," Sun Mai said with a grin, "we show them that Earth doesn't like bullies, no matter how big their ships are." Outside the UN building, people gathered in the streets, looking up at the sky where the alien ships hung like dark stars. Some were scared, others angry. But soon, very soon, the Stellar Dominion would learn an important lesson. Never judge a civilization by its size. Sometimes, the most dangerous opponent is the one you underestimate.